Today, the $1 trillion infrastructure spending bill fails in its first vote in the Senate. But some senators backing the bill remain hopeful of another chance. The FBI says hackers working for the Chinese Communist Party targeted dozens of American pipeline companies between 2011 and 2013. They wanted to damage the pipelines. And Netflix, the world's largest streaming service, releases its earnings. What direction does it want to move in next? That and much more, coming up on NTD Business. Good evening, great to have you with us. I'm Paul Graney. Senate Republicans blocked a move today to start debating the $1 trillion infrastructure bill. They say the bill is still a work in progress and is not ready for floor action. Senators voted 51 to 49 against the proceedings. It did need 60 votes anyway. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer insisting on holding the vote today. But Republicans say the bipartisan group needed more time to wrap up the deal and review the details. They sought a delay until Monday. The measure includes new spending for roads, bridges, ports, and other infrastructure. But Democrats are proposing a much broader bill worth $3.5 trillion. They hope to push that through reconciliation. And Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell predicting that no Republicans will back a bill to raise the federal debt ceiling. But he says the Democrats could raise it in budget reconciliation too and pass it in what would likely be a party line vote. On July 31st, the Treasury Department faces the debt cap again. Congress temporarily suspended it in 2019. If nothing happens by the end of the month, though, the Treasury Department will have to resort to emergency measures to keep meeting its debt obligations. But emergency measures aren't a long-term solution. Democrats then are apparently weighing several other options, including putting it through a standalone bill or raise the limit via budget reconciliation. Reconciliation, though, is a politically risky route because it would require lawmakers to specify a new borrowing limit, putting those who back higher public debt into voters' crosshairs. And in other news today, the FBI is saying that hackers working for the Chinese Communist Party accessed the IT systems of at least 13 American pipeline operators. That's between 2011 and 2013. Agency says the hackers' ultimate goal was to physically damage the pipelines or disrupt their operations. Talked to some experts earlier about the news. The FBI is telling American pipeline operators to secure their systems against foreign threats. It says hackers working for the Chinese Communist Party accessed at least 13 business systems between 2011 and 2013, aiming to damage pipelines or disrupt their operations.
Where you can defeat a nation by attacking its critical infrastructure, shutting down the power grid, shutting down oil and gas pipelines.
The hackers targeted specific employees with fake emails and other methods to get access to the pipelines. So now the FBI wants all general IT systems to be separated from the systems that control pipeline operations.
And that's very similar to what we saw with that legacy VPN device that Colonial Pipeline kept talking about after they found out how they got hacked.
There's also the problem of pipelines using dial-up modems with little to no security or monitoring, a hacker's dream.
And that's going to take organizations a sizable amount of time and effort to get done.
Colonial Pipeline, America's largest oil line, was hacked and shut down in May. Fuel shortages and long gas lines followed. Colonial blamed a hacker group called DarkSide for the attack, paying a ransom of $4.4 million.
Provides half the fuel, not just for the eastern coast of the United States for civilian purposes, but for all of the military bases on the East Coast.
Prime wants protection for critical services to be included in the upcoming infrastructure package. Paul Graney, NTD News. And the world's largest oil producer, Saudi Aramco, is facing cyber extortion. Confirmed today that a contractor leaked data from the company. Now it's facing a $50 million ransom demand. The oil firm didn't say which contractor was affected, nor whether the information was hacked or leaked out another way. It says the data was not from a breach of its own systems and that it has no impact on the operations of the company's cybersecurity program. But a page accessed by the AP on the darknet claims the extortion holds 1 terabyte worth of Aramco data. Remains unclear who is behind the ransom plot. And supermarkets are pulling Ben & Jerry's ice cream from their shelves shortly after the ice cream brand seemed to take sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. NTD's Evelyn Lee spoke to the co-owner of one supermarket chain that's cutting back on Ben & Jerry's.
If you come to Morton Williams to look for Ben & Jerry's ice cream, you might have a bit of a tough time finding it. This is a supermarket chain that's just decided to drastically cut down on its sales of Ben & Jerry's. That's because the brand has taken sides in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Ben & Jerry's announced that it will stop selling ice cream in the West Bank and East Jerusalem because it's inconsistent with their values. Now some grocery stores around the U.S. are deciding to pull the ice cream from their shelves. Avi Kainer, co-owner of Morton Williams, calls it a dog whistle for anti-Jewish sentiment. He says the brand is still selling to some other nations with no freedom of speech and religion.
If you look at all the countries in the world, Ben & Jerry's chose the one Jewish nation in the world to target.
Kainer told NTD that Morton Williams decided in a board meeting to radically cut down on their sales of Ben & Jerry's and stop 100% of all promotional activities with the brand.
We're immediately reducing our product place of Ben & Jerry's by 70%. We're stopping placing new orders. We're selling out what we have, and we will keep only one or two shelves at the bottom, depending on the size of the store.
Danny Sachemsky is the owner of Glad Express, a kosher supermarket in New Jersey. He says the supermarket almost immediately decided to drop the ice cream after hearing the news. Although they have more than $1,000 worth of Ben & Jerry's ice cream left over, they will keep it in storage as long as the brand doesn't reverse its decision. One grocery store in South Florida posted an Instagram story that shows a man throwing Ben & Jerry's ice cream in the garbage can. Kainer says he came to the decision because he believes it's the right thing to do, and his supermarket chain has gotten support for it.
We've received thousands of emails and messages from customers thanking us for doing this.
Ben & Jerry's came under pressure online and says it won't renew its license agreement with its Israeli manufacturer. It says it won't serve what it calls Israeli-occupied areas, but it will continue to sell ice cream in Israel. They didn't get back to us in time for broadcast. Evelyn Lee, NTD News.
And Amazon founder Jeff Bezos became the second billionaire this month to take a tour in outer space. But back on Earth, Bezos was criticized for his post-flight remarks. NTD's Colin Fredrickson has the story.
After Jeff Bezos came back to Earth from his pioneering space flight, he thanked some of the people who helped send him there.
I want to thank every Amazon employee and every Amazon customer, because you guys paid for all of this.
Despite the laughter, Bezos didn't appear to catch on to the irony in what he said.
Seriously, for every Amazon customer out there and every Amazon employee, thank you from the bottom of my heart very much.
But some Democrat politicians jumped at the chance to roast him for it. Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweets, yes, Amazon workers did pay for this, with lower wages, union busting, a frenzied and inhumane workplace. Senator Elizabeth Warren accused Bezos of not paying taxes, and Representative Earl Blumenauer used the occasion to introduce a bill to tax space tourism, saying the trip produced no scientific value. But former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Public Affairs, Monica Crowley, says there is value. She tells The Hill it's an apolitical triumph of American individualism, ambition, perseverance, technology, creativity, and entrepreneurship, saying Bezos started out at McDonald's with hard work and big dreams. Colin Fredrickson, NTD News.
And stocks closed higher again on Wall Street today, extending their gains following a sharp drop at the beginning of the week. The Dow rose 286 points, or 0.8%. S&P 500 gained 36 points, also 0.8%. The Nasdaq added 133 points, 0.9% today. And Netflix earnings came out last night, and boy, is there a lot to unpack. The world leader in streaming adding subscribers in total, but losing a lot in North America. Also, they've confirmed their gaming ambitions. That and more. NTD's Olin Richard unpacks it for us.
Netflix's earnings are out. They had revenue of $7.34 billion, an increase from $6.15 billion last year. And while they added 1.5 million subscribers, in North America they actually lost 430,000. In a shareholder letter, they said, "We believe our large membership base in UCAN, coupled with a seasonally smaller quarter for acquisition, is the main reason for this dynamic."
We still feel a little bit of that drag in terms of our acquisition growth as we're kind of working through what we hope is, and we can't be sure, but what we hope is the tail end of this COVID choppiness.
Something else on the minds of investors, Netflix doesn't care that its competitors are merging and growing. In fact, its strategy seems to be the opposite.
There's so much competition from, Instagram and TikTok and sports and the Olympics and everything else that there's plenty of room to grow, without taking it away from the other streamers.
A research report from April shows Netflix has 20% of the market, while Amazon Prime has 16%, Hulu has 13%, HBO Max has 12%, and Disney Plus has 11%. Netflix says it wants to focus on content and improving its services. And some of that content will involve gaming.
We really see this as an extension of the core entertainment offering that we've been focused on, for the last 20 years, right?
COO Greg Peters says they'll start small and continuously improve in a multi-year effort. He adds there are many things that'll differentiate Netflix's offerings.
The IP that we create. We are in the business of making these amazing worlds and great storylines and incredible characters. And we know the fans of those stories want to go deeper. They want to engage further.
He also points to the advantages of a subscription model. Customers won't have to worry about title purchases, in-game purchases, or ads.
When we first heard about the Netflix gaming platform, I can speak for the team, we were all incredibly excited. There's a lot of opportunity in this kind of games as a service.
Game developer James Deegan believes the platform will be a big success. He also points to Netflix's intellectual property, from movies and characters to music. He says it gives Netflix a lower barrier to entry for getting consumers excited. Arlene Richards, NTD News.
And Coca-Cola says there hasn't been any direct sales impact after soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo snubbed it. Ronaldo removed 2 bottles of Coke placed in front of him at a Euro 2020 press conference in June. Ronaldo, a health fanatic with an aversion to carbonated drinks, held up a bottle of water instead, saying agua, Portuguese for water. That caused the stock market to go into a frenzy and briefly wiped off billions of dollars from the company's market cap, but it did quickly bounce back. Coke's second quarter results released Wednesday showed a $10 billion jump in sales, beating analyst estimates by nearly $1 billion. Coke's CFO says that its commitment to these major sports tournaments hasn't been affected. And Verizon's quarterly results came out today. Again, it beat estimates as higher demand for 5G helped it to attract more customers. Verizon has been investing heavily in its 5G network to compete with AT&T and T-Mobile. Verizon added 275,000 postpaid phone subscribers in the last quarter. That surpassed industry estimates too. The reopening of its stores also helped drive subscriber growth. Analysts and investors watch postpaid phone subscribers closely because they show recurring monthly bills, making them valuable to carriers. One analyst is predicting for the second half of the year, U.S. carriers will keep pushing for upgrades to unlimited 5G plans. And money app Venmo says it's getting rid of a controversial feature that allowed you to see the transactions of complete strangers, which means strangers could see your transactions too. NTD's Phil Zoe has more on Venmo's big change.
Popular payment app Venmo is known for its global feed, where users can see strangers' payment transactions, whether they're connected or not. Every user's payment history to who and when is public.
I've heard of Venmo and I don't like it for that reason.
I don't like Venmo because it's confusing.
Why we need to see who's giving money to who and for what? I didn't really get that.
The company, which has 70 million users worldwide, says it's canceling the feature.
I don't really need to see what other people send money for. It's kind of silly.
It's a violation of privacy and I think it's unethical.
If there's more privacy, then I might be more willing to use it.
Venmo says the change is to allow customers to connect and share meaningful moments and experiences with the people who matter most. Dave has been using Venmo for more than 2 years. He says the issues go beyond payment apps.
All of the stuff we're doing right now, so it can be hacked into. Your phone can be hacked into. There's very little that can't be known.
In May, BuzzFeed reporters were able to locate President Biden's Venmo account, mapping out close contacts like family members and White House officials.
There's no privacy, and I'm not sure that we're ever going to be able to get privacy back as a civilization to the degree that we've ever had it.
President Biden and his wife deleted their Venmo accounts after the report. The company, which is owned by PayPal, says people are still able to see transactions of friends or can choose to go completely private. Phil Zhou, NTD News, New York.
And Johnson & Johnson is forecasting $2.5 billion in 2021 sales for its CCP virus shot. That's even with a lower production target for the vaccine due to manufacturing problems. The company told CNBC it now expects to produce up to 600 million doses of its one-shot vaccine this year. That's down from its original goal to produce 1 billion shots. J&J expects to record more than half of the projected $2.5 billion sales in the fourth quarter. It reported $164 million in CCP virus vaccine sales for the second quarter. The company's CFO says the J&J vaccine appears to be durable for at least 8 months and effective against prevalent coronavirus variants. And the UK's largest banking and payment service app, Revolut, is the country's biggest unicorn ever. NTD's Patrick Hayden speaks to a UK technology consultant to get his view on the valuation.
Mobile banking and payment service app Revolut has recently secured $800 million of funding. Now the company is valued at $33 billion.
So they are by far the largest unicorn, startup the unicorn that the United Kingdom financial services industry has seen. So the UK has been very good for them.
Revolut has more than 16 million customers and provides services that challenge traditional banks. This is most notable in fees for exchanging currency.
They obviously have always been mindful in terms of the fact that their customers tend to be highly travelled and international, and therefore they've had to extend their offer internationally in terms of the partnerships that they've developed, for example, with Visa.
Revolut has gone beyond traditional banking services to make finances more accessible from your phone.
So rather than sit around thinking, well, we're just simply a multi-currency card, that they have constantly innovated. So, and they've also thought about tiers of service as well.
Revolut brought in a metal card with an annual fee that provides services including the ability to trade stocks and cryptocurrencies. Peel says the transaction fees are relatively low. The company's valuation puts it above the vast majority of companies in London's top 100 FTSE listings.
There has always been a power play between London and New York as to which are the biggest financial services and capital markets.
He says Revolut's new valuation is a feather in the cap for the UK's fintech industry. Patrick Hayden, NTD News, London.
And carmaker Volvo is buying out its parent company, Geely Holdings, from their joint ventures in China. Could pave the way for an initial public offering for the Swedish automaker. Next year, China will no longer require foreign automakers to have a local joint venture partner. And analysts expect other foreign car makers to follow in Volvo's footsteps. The deal will give it full ownership of manufacturing plants in Chengdu, Daqing. Will also obtain its Chinese sales company and its research and development facility in Shanghai. The deal is subject to regulatory approval and is expected to be completed by 2023. And still to come this evening. How would you like to spend tonight at basketball champion Scottie PIPPEN'S home, even playing on his basketball court? What's more, it won't even cost you much. And two brothers in Vermont give up hundreds of cows in their family's dairy farm. They now raise goats instead. It's to help stay afloat in a changed industry. That and more after this short break.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Secure, the true solution for your digital privacy and security. Secure is a private and secure messaging and email solution hosted in Switzerland, using military-grade encryption and Swiss privacy laws, giving you true privacy. Secure is 100% private and does not collect or sell any of your personal data. Secure's Helix technology connects you securely to our Swiss servers without the need of a VPN, guaranteeing privacy and security for all your communications. Secure Messenger doesn't require your phone number or any personal data that hackers target. Chat by Invites allows you to chat privately and securely with anyone outside of your secure network without the need for others to download Secure. Secure Send offers you a private and secure way to email anyone outside of Secure. You won't find this level of privacy or security on any other email or instant messaging application. Visit secure.com. Regain and protect your privacy today.
Welcome back. You might have to wait a little longer for your Taco Bell favorites. The fast food chain is joining the list of companies affected by the recent global supply chain disruption as a result of the pandemic. Taco Bell says because of ingredient shortages and delivery delays, some of your favorites may not be available. Some other fast food chains also announcing limited stock or supply issues like Chick-fil-A and Starbucks. And fast food chains have been hit hard recently, not only because of the ingredient shortage, but lack of help to keep up with demand. And the Biden administration is extending the non-essential travel restrictions for the U.S. northern and southern borders. It cites rising CCP virus cases across the country. According to a Federal Register notice, the restrictions go into effect Thursday and will remain until August 21st. The restrictions aren't new. The U.S. has been limiting non-essential travel along both borders since the start of the pandemic. U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents, as well as people traveling for medical purposes or to attend school, are exempt from the restrictions. One official says although there has been positive development in the fight against the disease, recent outbreaks and continued transmission, both in the U.S. and globally, pose a risk. Faced with unstale milk prices and rising costs, some dairy farms in the United States are going out of business. But others are staying afloat thanks to a creative change, switching to goats. NTD's Colin Fredrickson has more.
Inside this barn at the JONESLAN farm in Vermont, baby goats burst out bleeding as they wait to be fed. The Jones family, the farm's owners, have been raising dairy cows for 150 years. But in the face of fluctuating milk prices and rising costs, they're making a change.
3 or 4 years ago, we kind of was looking into trying to do something different because for us, cows just weren't working anymore. So we started doing some investigation into goats and spent about 2 years studying it before we decided to do it.
The farm now houses more than 500 goats. Twice a day, they walk to the newly constructed nanny milking parlor to be milked. The Jones brothers, Brian and Stephen, delivered their first batch of goat's milk earlier this year to the Land O'Lakes' own Vermont Creamery. They say the goats are easier to raise than cows. The animals require less feed and have a shorter lactation period. That means milking an average of 250 days a year, compared to over 300 days on average for cows.
Goats have a lot more personality than cows do. Very curious. Will come up to everybody that walks in the barn and always wants to nibble on something, and just that's their nature.
According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, the country's number of dairy cow farms has fallen by more than half since 2003. At the same time, dairy goat operations have more than doubled between 1997 and 2017. Experts cite one major reason for the growth. That is, America has developed a taste for goat cheese, the soft, semi-ripened chevres.
Within the commercial side, more and more people have definitely approved or become accustomed to using the goat cheese, the goat milk, the kefir, even butter and ice creams and yogurts are definitely made. And it's not a stigmatism for just health food anymore.
On top of that, some people also keep goats for their own milk and as pets. California, Wisconsin, and Iowa are the top U.S. goat dairy states. But the popular and curious animals are popping up more in other states, too.
An Olympic basketball champion, Scottie Pippen, is opening his Chicago area home to basketball fans through Airbnb. He'll let them play in his custom basketball court, even sleep in his bed, for only $92 a night. The two-time Olympic gold medalist is hosting an Airbnb experience that coincides with this year's Tokyo Olympics, and fans who rent his home can watch Olympic basketball games from his home theater. But he's only hosting lucky fans on 3 non-consecutive nights, and only up to 4 people can stay at one time. The experience is meant to commemorate Pippen's career highlights of playing in the 1992 and 1996 Olympics, and fans will also have access to his archival footage of the games from that time, along with vintage memorabilia. And a small marine drone tasked with collecting floating trash on the water in French ports is making a splash by easing the workload for local cleanup crews. Here are the details.
This small yellow marine drone is weaving around the port of Cassis in southern France. It's called Jellyfish Bot, a robotic sea cleaning boat, and it's only the size of a suitcase. The mastermind behind the design is a PhD holder in underwater robotics and the CEO of the Yaris company.
In order to access those places where almost all the trash is concentrated, we designed this robot to be as compact as possible. It measures 70 centimeters in length, 70 centimeters wide, and it can go everywhere.
In 2019, the World Wildlife Fund reported that over 600,000 tons of plastic end up in the Mediterranean Sea every year. The jellyfish bot sucks up plastic bags, discarded drink bottles, and even used surgical masks into the net at the back of its hulls. It can reach corners in tight spaces that are inaccessible to cleaners with nets.
It's easier for the ports cleaners because they have less material handling to do. They have fewer physical constraints, and especially they don't have to walk around the waters as much.
The jellyfish bot has been adopted in several countries, but isn't the only device of its kind. Similar technology has been developed in San Diego and the Netherlands.
That's the latest business updates for today. You can still catch NTD Evening News with Stephanie Cox. That's at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. For NTD Business, that's all for today. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.
We have a new channel. Subscribe to us on YouTube at NTD News. Get the highlights of our news broadcast and the most important headlines that we curate especially for you.
Don't let YouTube decide what information you get. That's your choice. YouTube is deleting our videos and cuts you off from a source of honest reporting. Make sure you don't lose access to NTD's news content, and take a quick moment to subscribe to our newsletter so no matter what happens here, you'll keep your access to a trustworthy news source.